friends, today we are going to be practicing how to make different skin tones together. What you're going to get is a handout and a palette that has the primary colors, yellow, blue, and red. I do turquoise and magenta instead of the straight blue and red because they tend to be easier to mix, especially for skin tones. And then white. We're going to be mixing in the bottom part of our paper, and then after we get the combination of colors we need, we're going to take a little bit of it and paint it in the box. So each one of these boxes should have a different skin tone to it. The first combination you can see, it says 1 times blue, 1 times yellow, 1 times red. And what that means is we're going to take equal parts of all those colors. We're not using white yet, so I'm going to wet my brush and I grab from the side of the paint, not directly in the middle, and I make a little spot. So I do a little dot of yellow, clean my brush. If you want to wipe it on a paper towel gently after, you can. And I want to get a little blue, but I want this blue to kind of look like it's the same amount or very similar. So notice how they're both very similar to their amounts, and then I'm going to do the same thing with my red. Now what I'm going to do using my brush is I'm going to mix them together. And what I should get is a brown. So I'm going to mix, mix, mix. But as I'm mixing, if I'm noticing that it looks maybe a little too red, then I might need to add a little more yellow or blue. Okay, if it looks a little more too blue, I might need to add the other 2 colors. Mine's looking pretty good because I made the consistency exactly the same. So I'm going to take that mixture I just made, and in that box, I'm going to paint that brown. Okay. Now I'm going to clean my brush. This one says 1 times blue, 2 times yellow, 1 times yellow. So what do you think that means, 2 times red? Great, it means I'm going to need double the amount of red. This is going to be an example of somebody that has more of a red in their skin tone. So I'm going to take equal amounts of yellow and blue because those are 1. I just place them kind of next to each other so I can see, okay? And then when I do the red, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it and I'm going to do 2. Take my brush and now mix them. And this one should have more of a reddish to it. Now, looking at mine, okay, so maybe, let's see, I'm gonna paint a little bit next to it. Okay, maybe I want it just a teeny bit redder. I'm gonna grab just a little bit more red, not a lot. And that's looking a little close to more of a reddish skin tone. So I'm gonna paint that in there. And then that's how you would get that skin color, a little more red to your primary color. Now the next one is just gonna have more blue, or I'm sorry, the next one's gonna have just more yellow. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna grab these ones first, get equal amounts of the blue and red, and then some skin tones have a little more yellow in them. So usually they have either a little more red or yellow, not so much with the blue. So I'm gonna do 2 yellow of the same amount, and then now I'm gonna mix them all together. And this one should be more of a yellow. So I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna go in there. Now, if it looks a little too yellow, you can grab a little bit more of the other 2 colors and kind of mix that. It could probably use a little more of the other 2. There, that looks a little more realistic. Okay, so many different shades. All right, the next one's 1 red, 2 yellow, and 1 white. So in this case, we don't use any blue. So we're gonna do 1 red, 2 yellow, and a white. 2 yellow, so I'm gonna do same amount. And then the white is gonna be the same amount as that red dot. All right, so all the dots are the same size. I just did 2 of the yellow in this case. So now I'm gonna mix them together. Okay, so it's looking a little dark. So sometimes these are gonna be more of your more peach tones. You might wanna add a little more white to it. And this is gonna be like a very orange colored kind of skin tone. So I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna paint that in there. So the white, you kind of have to, what's tricky with the white, you kind of have to add more. You could even add lighter versions of this. I could go in, mix a little white in here, and down in the corner, maybe paint a little bit of extra white. Okay, so now, as you can see, I have a variation in there. Now this one is 2 red and 1 yellow. So this time I do more red. So I'm gonna take my yellow, do that, take my red, do 2 of the red. Okay, and a little bit of the white, maybe a little more, because I know last time I probably needed a little more of that, and I'm gonna mix, and that's gonna give me more of a reddish skin tone. But that's looking a little too pink. I might go in and mix a little more yellow, white into it, and then what you're gonna get is something kind of like this, somewhere of a reddish. Now, sometimes the skin, you can have one that might have a teensy bit, a little blue in it. But as you can see, the minute I add that blue, it doesn't look quite right. So, for the most part, when you're doing whiter skin tones, you're gonna have mostly no blues in those, okay? Now the last one, this little box here, experiment and see if you can kind of get your skin tone. So that box, what I'm gonna do for mine, mine's kind of, if I hold my arm up against it, I think it's very close to that last color. I have a lot of red in mine. So I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna mix on my paper until I get about what I think is pretty close to my skin tone. And it might take me a while, and that's okay. You can literally mix your color and hold your brush up against your skin. So that I still think needs a little more red to it. And I'm just gonna keep going until I think I've got pretty close to what my skin color is. This should be fun. This shouldn't be anything that should be really stressful. That's pretty close. I could maybe mix a little more white. Yeah, that's looking pretty close.